Peace, 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 peace. What's going on with you? Rami Salam El here. Thank you for joining us. So, Islam for Dummies. That's what we're reading today. But before I get to this, I just wanted to say and make something clear that being a Moor isn't a religious thing. It isn't something that you convert into. You don't have to become Muslim to be Moorish American. Who we are. Our identity, that's a part of history, that is our culture, that is not a belief, that's not religion, it's not something you have to convert to. Alright, so that being said, was in Barnes & Nobles, saw this, had to get it. Well, actually I got it offline because Barnes & Nobles is trying to hit me for too much, but whatever. So I was looking through here and I came to the section, chapter 15, Islam in America. And I said, well, let's see where they start with this. And I'll read straight from the chapter. Well, I don't read straight from it because they talk about building mosque and establishing national Islamic organizations and a lot of history. I just get to the part that talks about Noble Drew Ali. Let's get right there. The Moorish Science Temple of America is the first explicitly Islamic movement in the United States. Timothy Drew, its founder, was born in 1886 in North Carolina. Little is known of his first 25 years, but the various legends about him added to the sense of mystery that was part of his appeal. Was he a descendant of Bilali Muhammad, or a slave descendant raised by Cherokee Indians? Did he travel to Egypt as a teenager and learn the secrets of an ancient Egypt religion? Had he been to Saudi Arabia, and did the king of Morocco commission him to teach Islam in the United States? What's certain is that by 1913 he was in the North, had changed his name to Noble Drew Ali, and founded the first Moorish temple in Newark, New Jersey. Noble Drew Ali combined elements from a number of different sources. The Pan-Africanism of Marcus Garvey, that's number one, very interesting. Christianity, Islam, Theosophy, 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 I think that's how you pronounce it. Excuse me if I did get it wrong. And Freemasonry. Islamic elements included Noble Drew Ali's claim to be the last of the prophets of Allah, and his Quran, and his Holy Quran, the Circle 7 Quran, composed in 1927. Ali's 64-page Holy Quran bore little resemblance to the Islamic Quran. And the difference is the Quran or the Quran, some people pronounce it Quran. The Quran that Noble Drew Ali brought is spelled Koran, and the traditional Quran, the one that came through Prophet Muhammad, is Quran'. Quran and Quran, or Quran. They bore a little resemblance to the Islamic Quran. It contains significant elements from the Bible, apocryphal Jesus Gospels, and Rosicrucian, a form of Freemasonry, texts, in addition to material from the Quran. Ali taught that African Americans, when did that term originate? But never mind. Ali taught that African Americans were Asiatics who could trace their ancestry back to Morocco, and beyond that, to Jesus. African Americans should abandon their slave identity and religion and reclaim their heritage. Converts generally drop their slave last names, and in parentheses, last names, substituting for it El or Bey, and carried a national identity card. Men often wore a fez and women a white turban. They avoided pork, regarded as slave food, and alcohol. The movement appealed to poor blacks who made up the first great migration from the South to the urban North from 1915 to 1930. By the late 1920s, there were 30,000 Moorish Americans in most major cities of the Midwest and Northeast. Let me read that again. By the late 1920s, there were 30,000 Moorish Americans in most major cities of the Midwest and Northeast. In 1929, Ali was arrested in connection with the killing of a rival. Released from jail, he died the same year under mysterious circumstances, but the movement continued to grow. Only in the 1950s did the Nation of Islam surpass it in membership. 1950s, wow. Although small, the Moorish temple is still active today. So that concludes the excerpt on Noble Drew Ali. A lot of important information. Matter of fact, let me point out just a few things. I wasn't going to do that, but just for the record. Let's see. The first thing that I just wanted to point out, well, obviously the 30,000 Moorish Americans, that really stuck out to me. That's a lot of Moors out there. Also, that the first sentence of this, it lets you know that the Moorish Science Temple was the first Islamic movement in the United States. That seems like a very important mark in history that we should learn about or know about, especially considering what's going on with Islam and Muslims in America and across the world, but also in America today. It would seem like that point would come up at some point in time, but I've never heard any mainstream, any corporate media, even any black leader, or Muslim, American Muslim leaders. I don't really ever hear them focusing on that, which is interesting. The other thing that I wanted to bring up was about the Quran and how they phrase it as his Quran, Noble Drew Ali's Quran, and it's not, just to clarify, it's not his Quran. It's not. He didn't write. Noble Drew Ali didn't write it. If you want to learn more about that, just click the link in the description, or do a search for did Noble Drew Ali plagiarize the Holy Quran? Because he actually was the preparer or the compiler. He put it together, but he didn't author all of the words that are in the Quran. And I know that's a little bit confusing for some people who think that he just took the information from somewhere else and put his name on it and said it was his, but that's not the case. And just also that that it points out that the people were dropping our quote-unquote slave names, which is our last names. And when you do the history and you do research into what last names mean, or surnames mean, especially in law, you'll find some very interesting information. And then I just had a couple questions for you watching, just to think about. One was, one obviously was with so much talk about Muslims and Islam, going on in the world, and right now it's being associated with terrorism and terrorists and ISIS, etc., etc., even though that's BS, but whatever. But being that there's so much talk about that, especially here in North America, United States, how come no one is speaking about Noble Drew Ali, since he was the first person to have a movement of Islam in the United States? The next question was about the Quran. You have the Bible, which has, it varies, but it has like 66 books, a bunch of pages in it. It's a long book. The Quran is a pretty lengthy book. the Torah, the Tanakh, the Bhagavad Gita. A lot of these scriptures, these holy books, they're pretty lengthy. They have a lot of information. So why is it that Noble Drew Ali's is only 64 pages? Why such a huge variance in between the different holy books of ancient times and the holy book that Noble Drew Ali brought? What's up with that? And the last thing was about the slave names. What's the problem in dropping? You know, we agree that we were made into slaves, and you know, these aren't our true names, and you know, we're not really Johnsons and Williams and Robertsons and a bunch of other European names. We know that those aren't our names, and we know that, you know, that those are actually slave names that were placed on us, and blah 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 blah. So why not let them go and reclaim the names we had before those names were placed on us? Why not? Let me know. Answer those questions in the comment section, or send me an email if you want to expand on it a little more. You can reach me at iamhhtemple@gmail.com. Once again, iamhhtemple@gmail.com. The book again, Islam for Dummies. Don't believe me? Get it for yourself. Read it for yourself. Do the research on Noble Drew Ali and the Moors and Moor Science Temple of America for yourself. Don't believe me or what you see online or what you've heard people say. Look it up for yourself, so that you will know. Because a wise man once taught me, the man knows not by being told. Thank you for watching. Peace and love, and much love. Gotta have the love. We got to have the love. Peace.